Sarah, one of my viewers, wrote to me about something that broke my heart. She said, "I found my husband crying in the garage last night. When I asked what was wrong, he said he didn't know why he felt so empty inside." That conversation led to an eye-opening realization that I want to share with you today. Last year, my brother Jamie, successful, funny, the guy everyone loves, called me at 2 a.m. He was sitting in his car outside his house, unable to go inside because his wife had asked him to just be normal for once. Normal was a word that had haunted him since childhood. You see, Jamie grew up with a father who made him feel like his emotions were a burden, and that pain, it followed him into every room he entered, every relationship he built, every version of himself he tried to become. The question that haunts millions of men today is this: what happens when the very people who should have protected your emotional world taught you to fear it instead? Scene number 1, the apology reflex. When toxic parents raise boys, they create what psychologists call chronic apologetic behavior. But here's what the research shows. It's not about being polite. It's about survival. You apologize for needing space, for having opinions, for existing in rooms where someone might prefer you weren't there. Toxic parents often use shame as a parenting tool. They make children believe that their needs are burdens, their emotions are inconvenient, their presence is problematic. Healing starts when you realize that your needs aren't burdens. They're human rights. Scene number 2, the emotional fortress. Dr. John Gottman's research on emotional suppression reveals something profound. Boys raised in emotionally unsafe environments learn to disconnect from their feelings as a survival strategy. What this looks like: physical symptoms of anxiety with no emotional explanation, difficulty identifying what you're feeling in the moment, turning pain into anger because anger feels safer than sadness or fear. Jamie couldn't even name his emotions until he was 32. His therapist gave him a feelings wheel, and he broke down crying because he realized he'd been living with a stranger inside his own body. Scene number 3, the peacemaker mentality. Here's what trauma psychology teaches us. Children raised in chaotic households develop what we call hypervigilance. Your nervous system becomes a 24/7 monitoring system, scanning for tone changes in voices, body language shifts, the precise moment when happy becomes explosive. The hidden cost: you become so focused on managing other people's emotional states that you forget you have one too. Scene number 4, love's uncertainty. Attachment theory explains why men raised by toxic parents often struggle with intimacy. When primary caregivers are unpredictable or emotionally harmful, children develop what we call disorganized attachment. The pattern: craving connection but fearing it simultaneously, testing people to see if they'll leave, and then getting upset when they do, interpreting normal relationship challenges as signs of abandonment. Jamie's breakthrough: he realized he had been testing every woman in his life, making himself unavailable until they showed they would fight for him. But healthy love shouldn't require proving yourself worthy every day. I need to pause here because I know something about you right now. You're feeling seen, aren't you? Not just understood, but actually seen in a way that makes your chest tight and your eyes well up because someone finally said out loud what you've been carrying in silence for years. Here's what I want you to understand. Every man who relates to these first 4 characteristics is carrying the same invisible burden, the belief that they're fundamentally unlovable, too much, or not enough. And they learned this before they were old enough to tie their shoes. If you're thinking right now, "This is me, this is exactly how I feel," then pause this video just for a second. Put your hand on your heart and feel it beating. That heartbeat? That's not the heart of someone who's broken. That's the heart of someone who survived when survival seemed impossible. You're not watching this video by accident. Your soul brought you here because it's time to stop carrying this pain alone. The boy who learned to apologize for existing, he's still inside you, waiting for you to come back for him. Here's what I promise you. By the end of this video, you're going to see that boy not as a victim, but as the strongest part of who you are. Because he learned to survive in conditions that would break most adults, and now you're going to learn how to thrive. Keep watching. Your healing is literally one video away. Scene number 5, the parentified child. Parentification is one of the most hidden forms of emotional abuse. When children are forced to care for their parents' emotional needs, they miss crucial developmental milestones. Signs you experience this. You learned to read adults' moods before you learned to read books. Your worth was tied to how much you could help or fix. You felt guilty for having normal childhood needs. The lasting impact. Adult children of parentification often struggle with poor boundaries, over-responsibility, difficulty asking for help, self-worth, tied to usefulness. Scene number 6, the impossible no. Toxic parents often punish boundary-setting children who try to say no to unreasonable demands. Face emotional withdrawal, guilt-tripping, punishment disguised as consequences. The result, as adults, saying no feels dangerous because your nervous system still treats it as a threat to your safety. Research shows men raised by toxic parents are 73% more likely to experience chronic overcommitment and burnout. Not because they can't handle responsibility, but because they never learned that no is a complete sentence. Sign number 7, the forgiveness trap. Family systems therapy reveals a painful pattern. Children raised by toxic parents learn that forgiveness is mandatory, not optional. What this creates, tolerance of repeated emotional abuse, difficulty recognizing red flags, self-blame for not being forgiving enough. The healthier perspective, real forgiveness is earned through genuine change, not demanded through manipulation. You can forgive someone while still protecting yourself from future harm. Sign number 8, the secret weight. Here's what the research on childhood emotional neglect tells us. The loneliest people in the room are often those carrying invisible emotional burdens. What you're really carrying, the child who never felt safe to express needs, the teenager who learned to hide their authentic self, the young adult who copied their trauma into every relationship. The breakthrough moment. Healing begins when you stop seeing this secret loneliness as proof that something's wrong with you and start seeing it as evidence that you survived something that should never have happened to a child. My brother Jamie now sits with his emotions instead of running from them. He says his wife recently told him she's finally meeting the real him for the first time. Here's what the research shows us. Healing is possible. Neuroplasticity means your brain can literally rewire itself to form healthier patterns. 3 steps that research proves work. Step 1, acknowledge your patterns without shame or self-blame. Step 2, practice tiny acts of self-advocacy daily. Start with saying no to one small thing. Step 3, seek support from people who understand, not just sympathy, but true comprehension. Here's what longitudinal studies on trauma recovery reveal. Men who work through these patterns don't just feel better, they become better partners, fathers, and leaders. Jamie's transformation timeline. Month 1, started naming emotions instead of pushing them away. Month 3, said no to his boss for the first time in 10 years. Month 6, had his first real conversation with his father about boundaries. Year 1, realized he was no longer testing the people he loved. The beautiful part? When you stop apologizing for existing, you start living for the first time. If this video reached you, and I believe it did, then you're not alone in carrying these invisible burdens. Millions of men are walking around with the same secret pain, the same patterns, the same belief that something is fundamentally wrong with them. But here's the truth, nothing is wrong with you. Everything is wrong with what happened to you. My next video is specifically for people like you. 7 hidden traits of people who have suffered too much, mental health signs. I'll break down the psychological markers that show someone has carried more than their share, and why recognizing these signs in yourself isn't weakness. It's the first step toward the life you deserve. Don't forget to subscribe for more psychology-backed insights that actually help you heal, not just understand why you hurt. Because every time you hit that subscribe button, you're not just following a channel, you're choosing to prioritize your mental health. Remember, you survived your childhood. Now it's time to live your adulthood. The boy who learned to apologize for existing, he's about to become the man who knows he deserves everything good life has to offer. See you in the next video. Text overlay. You are not broken, you are patterned, and patterns can change.